I certainly don't have to worry about protecting a large enterprise 24/7, and that's liberating in of itself. So I'm doing board advisory consulting work, also teaching cybersecurity at NYU Tannen School of Engineering.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Tech Talk. Today we are diving deep into the world of technology, exploring the impact of artificial intelligence, large language models, and cybersecurity. I'm your host, Krishan, and joining me is one and only Shimra. Let's talk specifically about LLMs. ChatGPT is now a household name. Are LLMs relevant in the space for cybersecurity?
If we think about broad categories of AI and drop down a level, we've got machine learning algorithms, we've got deep learning, generative models, and machine learning algorithms have been in production in enterprises for decades. So we've kind of learned and mastered how to use AI in a narrow sense. But with generative AI and specifically text-based large language models, which is what we have today available in the public, so we haven't really mastered how to use that technology and do it in a way that's resilient. And the reason for that is it's kind of new. We don't really understand it across lots of industries. What I can tell you is that fundamentally, and this is a very simplistic version, but the way large language models work is they're applied to massive amounts of data. They predict what words should follow which words in a response to a query. And it gives the user the perspective that there's someone thoughtful putting together this information. But it's really just statistical, pattern recognition and predicting what word should follow another word based on what's been published. And so if we think about that, what that means is that it's not like the AI LLM is applying logic or reasoning to the actual context of the answer. It's just predicting in what's been published the most common sequence of words. Now, this has tremendous applications for simplifying work that's done by humans. Because, nobody has time to read, gazillion gigabytes of data, right? And then master it all to be able to, respond to a query. But this is something that models do. In this case, generative AI does really, really well. And it can really have significant impact in healthcare to, maybe there's a future where a doctor, instead of spending 30% of their time doing research to help patients, spends 10% of their time, and that additional 20% is reinvested in improving the health of their patients because they can rely on AI generative models to cull through all the scientific journals and find breakthrough results that can help their patients. So the upside potential to LLMs specifically is massive across enterprises. Now, our challenge as cybersecurity professionals is to recognize that that's extending the attack surface. And the biggest problem with models, specifically LLMs, is that they produce characters, words, but they can produce code too. And so code can be introduced into a model through a prompt or a query, and that goes into the data set. That code is proprietary. So if I put a query in saying, hey, here's code I wrote, but it's not great, so rewrite it for me and give me higher quality code, and I'm looking for that as an output, I can get that output, but the code that I've introduced into the query is now part of the data set. And so if there's proprietary, aspects of that, that's problematic. The other problem is that the code that comes back may have some vulnerable components. And so we're in a position where we need some level of human in the loop to both filter the query and filter the response. That's essentially where the attack surface is. Now, the third dimension of that is that the LLMs that are public, they're taking in or consuming the queries or the prompts. And some of the data in the queries of the prompts is inaccurate and fundamentally wrong. And the problem is now that that's polluting the data set over time. It's something called eating its tail. And so the likelihood of probability of a hallucination or a non-factual response goes up. So that diminishes the accuracy of the information that's being used for business decisions. And there's implications of that.